With the Eagles out on vacation, I figured why not do something special. So I went ahead and I hit up Jordan Spector of Spector Art, probably better known as the guy who made the masterpiece for Devontae Smith. It was an honor to be able to talk to him, and we spoke for about 30 minutes. So I went ahead and I broke it up into two parts. This first part, we talk about basically who he is and where he comes from, but also he gives us a little bit of behind the scenes knowledge of Brian Dawkins, which I thought was really cool. So check out this first part. Let me know what you guys think, and part two will be out tomorrow. But yeah, let's get into it.
You want Philly food?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
We got my guy Jordan Spector of Spector Art. How's it going, Jordan? Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me on. I said looking forward to chopping it up.
Definitely, buddy. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, man. It's a good time to be an Eagles fan. You know, tough time to be a football fan. Obviously, we got to wait for football to come back. But you have had a busy off season, as our birds have. So I want to get into all that. But before we get into any specifics, I just kind of want to know. Let the people know who you are, what you do, where you're from, just kind of a background of who you are.
Yeah, so I am a artist by trade. That's what I've been doing for, when people ask me how long I've been doing art, I say my entire life. But I've been doing it full time for the past 4 or 5 years now. So I love what I do. I just create the best artwork that I can of the things that I'm passionate about, which is the Philadelphia Eagles and many other athletes in sports. And I'm just grateful and blessed to be able to do this full time as my career. So yeah, that's what I do.
Definitely. Yeah, you have created some amazing works. We'll obviously get into that, but there was kind of you had to kind of be pushed, guided back towards art. I heard you used to play at Temple, if I'm not mistaken. Can you kind of like walk me through what brought you back to art, how you kind of got back into it full time, and just kind of the story there at Temple?
Yeah, so like I said, I have been creating art my entire life ever since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was drawing whatever I loved: airplanes, fire trucks, whatever a kid would typically love, and that's when it all started. But back then, it was just kind of a hobby of mine. Nobody even knew that was a talent of mine. Even through high school, wasn't really something I put out there that much. I just didn't think to put it out there. And Instagram didn't exist when I was in high school yet, which is pretty funny to think about. But yeah, so that's really when it all started. And I loved football. That was another passion of mine. So I played football all through high school. And I ended up going to Temple, but decided to not play football. I didn't get recruited by Temple. I got recruited by smaller schools at that point. And I quickly started to miss the game a lot. So long story short, I trained my butt off, and back when I was playing, they actually hosted walk-on tryouts. So I actually found a group of guys that was training to do that, and I was in the best shape of my life going into that, and I ended up making the team, which was a huge milestone for me. And not a lot of kids from my high school made it to the Division I level, so it's just really cool to have that. But it was a fairly short-lived opportunity. I was there for 2 years, and I got hurt. It wasn't like a knee injury or anything. That was concussions, and that was something that always scared me, just that part of the game. And it's ironic, the where research has come now on concussions in football. So it was one of the hardest decisions for me to ever make, so I made that decision to walk away. But that's what led to me doing art again, initially. But this time, this is back in 2013, I was doing artwork of, football and sports that I just loved, and did work for guys that I played with at the time who now, ironically, are in the NFL. Tyler Medikevich, Dawkins, Hassan Reddick, who plays on the Eagles. I played with all those guys. So I'm still friends with them, and those are some of the first guys I did drawings for. So and I really haven't ever stopped since then. And it's been a long journey now, a fun journey, and it's really cool to look back, whenever I do stuff like this and just talk about it and think about it. But I've really come a long way. I have a legitimate business now, and that's what I do.
You're just amazing at it. So it's a great.
Thank you, man. And if you look at my work, back when I started, is nowhere near what it is now. So a message to all the kids out there: practice makes perfect. Or practice is important. It'll keep compounding that practice.
Definitely. Yeah, that's an amazing story. And it's crazy because you can see the passion behind what you do. And I think that's a big part of what you do, because sometimes, and one particular piece I kind of wanted to bring up was the 2017 championship, masterpiece that you did. It was just amazing, capturing the whole sideline. And one thing that is crazy is every time you see that piece, or really any piece, depending on what moments you remember as a sports fan, you see the piece and you're brought back to that moment. I kind of want to ask you, going into, specifically that 2017 championship piece, what goes through your mind? What are you trying to convey, and how do you kind of plan and set everything up before you kind of let the paint hit the canvas, or whatever the terming is? You can tell I can't draw for anything.
Yeah. Well, that is still to this day the most challenging project I've ever done, and also the most prideful and proud I am of a project that I completed, and the most time I ever put into a project, which was 2 years that it took me to make that. But it's really cool, and there's so many cool little details that led to that. But it was a dream of mine to have the opportunity to make a piece like that. But it was like, man, like, how can I do this without being funded to do it? So that was really my biggest pullback, and also, how do I do it? But eventually the stars aligned, and there was this gentleman that I ended up meeting. They had invited me to an event, and I just built a relationship with him, and he had this idea for a painting that aligned perfectly with what I wanted to do. It was like, wow, like, this is what I want to do, and you're going to fund me to do it. So it was really cool. That's kind of how it started. And but I went way above what his initial requests and thoughts were. He maybe had a list of 10 to 15 players, and I turned it into 41.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make the most incredible Eagles painting that ever exists, and I have never seen anything like what I made, and that was my goal. I want to create something timeless that people can appreciate forever. So that was the goal. And so that took me 2 years. Half of that time was just a research of not only who goes in it, but like, where do they exist in the artwork? I wanted to make a scene, not just a collage. You'll see a lot of collages, which are cool too, but for me, it was like, man, like, I want to make it a scene. And a lot of people initially, they look at it like, oh, it's the Super Bowl. It's actually not. It's from the 1940s all the way up to the Super Bowl win. So it's everything, So it was a grueling process, but it was also very fun to look back on, and just, I learned so much, and it was very, very nice to finish that.
What was it like seeing it get received? I mean, now, like you said, when we were growing, I'm kind of right there with you. When we were growing up, social media definitely isn't what it, wasn't what it is right now, right? So being able to kind of see people receive your painting, and just kind of the comments and how people reacted to it, what does that feel like? What can you kind of like bring me back to those moments? Was it all worth it? Did it make it all worth it, kind of,
Yeah, you know what? Some people might say that, like, social media doesn't matter to them, or likes don't matter to them, but it definitely matters, and it's gratifying to get that response, you know what I mean? So that was the most viral thing I've ever posted, specifically a tweet I put out of me. There's this famous picture of me sitting under the 15-foot canvas, and that was the first image ever released of it. And man, on Twitter, I had I still have a screenshot of the very first post. It had over 1 million impressions in like a day. So it was like bonkers, because I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about the response. I didn't think about what people would say, or the likes, or anything like that. I just wanted to finish it for my client, and it was really cool because he put together a whole revealing party for it and stuff. I have a really cool video of that whole night, so that in itself was special. But then to have that happen on top of it, it was just like icing on the cake. So that whole month, July 2021, was a really, really great month for me. It was a huge relief. It took a nice long break from creating any art.
Definitely, yeah. Another question I want to ask you, and I do want to get into the kind of now of it, obviously talk about the Devontae Smith and everything, but before we get into that, I want to ask you, because on your Twitter headline, it says art with energy, I believe, right? I'm misphrasing it a little bit, but how would you define your art? Because I know, look, I used to make music. Obviously, it's a little bit different, but it's in the same art atmosphere, right? And it's people define your art for you sometimes, but it's always interesting to kind of hear what the artist defines it as. So if you had to, you know, kind of give me a broad stroke, you see there, pun intended, of what you are.
I feel I have a unique approach to the art I create because I'm putting myself in the shoes of the athlete, if it's of an athlete, and that slogan "Art with Energy" is something I've always had from the beginning, really, because that's what I wanted. That's what I enjoy, is like that energy and that passion that whatever athlete has in that moment or in that sport. And it was like the one moment that really like solidified that for me years ago was when I very first was able to connect with Brian Dawkins, and I flew down to Orlando to meet him and give him this massive canvas of my Weapon X piece. And part of the video, it's one of my favorite videos, is I had him just talk. I said, hey, just say whatever you want, go off the dome about the art. And in his when he's talking, he goes, this is art with energy, you know, you can feel the energy, like stuff like that. And I think I picked the perfect person to talk about it.
Not all of us have the same gifts, because there's no way I can do any of this, what this gentleman just did, but being able to bless people with the energy. So there's a difference between having a painting to me and then having paintings with energy that jumps off. So like I said, the details that you see, the veins poking out, my teeth, and like that's to me that jumps out at you, and that brings emotion to the painting. It's not just a painting; it comes alive. You feel me? So that to me, that's what induces that emotion to individuals. So you have that gift. Not everybody has that gift. You have that gift. Continue to exercise these gifts, brother, because it's definitely a tremendous gift that you have. Seriously, tremendous gift that you have.
That was cool. So Art with Energy is kind of like my thing, and we're even releasing a shirt soon that I was wearing at my last event that says Art with Energy on it. It has all this cool stuff. So
you had that slogan before he said that, or he kind of coined it for you?
Yeah, I had it before that.
Okay,
and,
I was about to say, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, literally, yeah. Without me even telling him to say anything about it, those were literally the words he said. So it was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, you definitely picked the right slogan.
Everywhere. This is for you.
Yeah. Fly was flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring.